Do any members of the council as a whole wish to comment or have any questions? Seeing none, Mr. President, I declare the hearing closed.
Okay, thank you. Council will not be answering any questions, but will be listening to the opinions expressed by the speaker. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes or less. And at this time, we have several speakers that have signed up. The first one is Elizabeth Wilson. If you could step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Wilson, 19 Brown Ave, a Leominster high band and a theater company alumni. I come before you as a concerned parent who wants to keep the arts and music programs left intact at Leominster High School. Both of my daughters attend Leominster High School, and they live and breathe for the arts. My oldest has been with the jazz band and the theater company for the last 3 years and has learned the value of giving back to the community from her teachers, Andrea Mastrioni and Barry Hudson. In fact, Mr. Hudson and I were only 2 of about 15 or so band students left after the Prop 2.5 debacle back in 1982. And Mr. Hudson turned that high school music program into one that we can all be proud of. In fact, we have some of the finest music teachers in the area, including Arthur Pierce, Bernie Marceau, Brenda Ann LeMay, Robert Landry, and Larry Zuaro, who inspire these kids and tirelessly give back to the community, with students performing at such wonderful events as Starburst, collaborating with Mr. Marchand at the Johnny Appleseed Festival, and honoring those who serve at the Memorial and Veterans Day programs, just to name a few. But now my daughter tells me that if jazz band and advanced theater arts are cut, she will be spending 2 hours of her day in the Aldrich Cousins Auditorium in study periods. My husband and I are conscientious taxpayers, and we don't want our tax money used so that she can waste away in the Cousins Auditorium, especially at a time when she's going to be applying to colleges this fall. College administrators will laugh at her transcript if they see that 1/3 of her day is listed as a study hall. It's too bad. She's in the top 3% of her class and someday wants to become a physician's assistant. My younger daughter is an incoming freshman, and she wants to major in theater, so she needs the classes at the high school to learn the technical and acting aspects of the discipline. The Leominster High School Theater Company, under the direction of Miss Mastroni and Tim Smith, is a well-respected theater organization in Massachusetts, not just some after-school club. Currently, one former student stars on Broadway, other alumni perform in touring companies, and still more give back to their community by directing or performing in local theater. Ms. M and Mr. Smith are an inspiration to the students, creating a warm and safe environment in an oftentimes all too harsh and exclusive world. To take theater away from my daughters and their friends will be the equivalent of crushing their dreams. It's like leading a horse to a trough with no water in it. Why do we even bother having a feeder system if the kids move on to the high school and the show is essentially over? My daughters are just 2 of the hundreds of kids who are trying to make their way in life. We teach our children to give 100% in all that they do, and that with hard work, anything is possible. This is the year 2017, not 1982. We are much more than simply becoming a sports community, and our students have come too far in the arts. We are all better than these proposed cuts. Now, I know the task before you is enormous, and I respect the job that everyone is doing. But please consider doing what is right for the music and arts program so that 15 years from now, these kids can return to this wonderful city and say, Leominster is my hometown. I humbly thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Jennifer Kiefer.
Good evening, Jen Kiefer, 104 Center Road, Fitchburg. I'm the president of the Leominster Education Association. Despite the concerns raised by the community and the school committee, the city has established a net school spending budget for the Leominster Public Schools that reflects the bare minimum required by the Commonwealth. Our students deserve better. Most districts exceed the state-mandated net school spending minimum. In fiscal year 2016, 93% of all operating districts spent considerably more than the minimum, 20% more on average. We encourage people to examine how students in those districts perform. Leominster is joining the race to the bottom. A net school spending budget that provides only the minimum for students in Leominster translates to $5 million in cuts to staff, programs, and supplies. 201 letters of non-rehire have been given out, 127 of them to teachers. As of now, fewer than 10 have been notified that they will be returning to work. I want to remind you of Mass General Laws. Chapter 71A, all children in Massachusetts public schools shall be taught English as rapidly and effectively as possible. Chapter 71B, special ed students are required a free, appropriate public education. Key words, effective and appropriate. This is not possible for our students if there aren't teachers in front of them. District leadership apparently has no idea how to implement a net school spending budget. We are experiencing a staggering lack of leadership. and no one is taking responsibility for formulating a plan to make it through the difficult times ahead. Teachers who will be remaining in the district have received no information about student and class lists for the coming school year, preventing them from planning effectively for skyrocketing class sizes. The number of students and the makeup of a class significantly affect how educators present lessons to students and decide which supplies are needed. The cuts themselves are devastating to the students and staff, but the lack of direction from the district rubs salt in our wounds. Building administrators have received little to no direction on staff cuts and have resorted to conjecture concerning layoffs. This situation has caused panic and fueled rumors. We need someone to create a vision, however difficult the situation. Good teachers who have received layoff notices are accepting positions in other districts. This financial crisis was not caused by students and staff. We don't want to make these cuts, but we need a leader to bring us through this crisis. Our students deserve better than bare bones, but what they're being offered is even less than that. We need answers, we need direction, we need leadership. It's time that Superintendent Joliker and his team step up and do what they've been charged to do. Delaying these difficult decisions has deepened the already staggering turmoil in our district.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Wendy Anderson.
Hi, Wendy Anderson, 19 Crossman Avenue here in Leominster. I have a few thoughts I'd like to share with you tonight. I want to talk to you for a second about teacher raises. We can argue until we're blue in the face about the contractual raises that people have been throwing around amounts about whether the teachers should be getting them or if it's too much. But at this point, it's neither here nor there because these raises are in their contracts and they're there because of a vote. The school committee votes and the vote is then honored by the committee as a whole, regardless of each person's individual vote. And then we all have to respect the majority's vote and abide by it. And the mayor has on many occasions said some version of, and I quote, "I didn't vote for the teacher raises." But that doesn't matter because the majority of the members who sat on the committee at the time took a vote, and the outcome was that the motion passed. So the mayor cannot say now that because he didn't vote for it, he won't fund it. The annual city report. I'm curious as to why the department budget isn't in, the school department budget isn't in the 2016 annual report, but there are pieces that are paid for by the school department in the form of chargebacks. And there are some of our grants, such as Title I. I'd also like to encourage you to vote to please request or push the mayor to request the DOR review. But most important, I want to talk to you about the level of teacher cuts that is happening. What we really need at this point is the budget restored to the amount the school committee passed 8-0. I'm not sure what can be done now, but I'm asking that however it has to get done, it does. The budget the school committee passed cut around 17 teachers, which is 17 too many, but much, much lower than what is happening now. Classroom sizes will be increasing in just about every grade to numbers that are unsustainable, not conducive to learning, and could very well end up being unsafe. To quote an incredible and smart young man who spoke to you the last time you met, when you cut our teachers, you cut our potential. And this is so very true, and it's heartbreaking. Each child who steps into our schools is a bundle of potential, and we owe them the opportunity to reach their full potential as we encourage them to dream big and aim for the moon. When we overfill our classrooms, we deny our teachers the room they need to meet the needs of their students, and we deny the students the full measure of education, attention, and encouragement they need to soar. Just as doctors take an oath to do no harm, we as adults should also pledge to do no harm to our children. We should be giving them access to a top-notch public school system, but we are failing them. My children, your grandchildren, your neighborhood children, the young people who will be our next generation of leaders, athletes and movie stars, doctors, lawyers, Nobel Prize winners, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalists, Broadway producers and performers, playwrights, police and firefighters, and even city council members. Don't we want them to be educated and capable when we send them out into the world? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Joshua Anderson. Please state your name and address for the record.
Joshua Anderson, 19 Osman Avenue. This is my second or third, I lost count, time talking at one of these events. And that's because I cannot stress enough that our schools need more funding. But now, I come here more knowing more than I did the last time I came. Turns out, having these teachers will cause class sizes of up to 30 to 40 kids. To put that in perspective, my 5th grade classroom had 27 kids in it, and that was a lot of stress to a teacher who had been teaching for years. Imagine a fairly new teacher who had just hired and was ready to start their first year teaching. They walk into a classroom of 40 loud and rowdy kids. And what about the actual students? I know people in the public school system who need or prefer smaller classes. Imagine when a kid like that goes into a school and finds that they have been placed into a class of 39 shout to the rooftop students. How are they going to be able to learn anything? That is entirely unacceptable. Allow me to talk about the arts as well. Don't worry, I won't be here for much longer. The arts include art, of course, music, and theater. I personally learn that I am owned to Somerset, Wildcats, though most of my very good friends are heading up to Skyview. This means I'll be heading in with a clean slate all on my own. Despite all of that, I'm going to be in the Somerset band with Mr. Landry, and that will help me a lot, knowing that I'm surrounded by people in my situation. And of course, the cherry on top, I'm very interested in theater on a production and the behind-the-scenes standpoint. The arts are very important to so many. The arts are very important to so many students, and having them would be cutting off the potential for many students who are extremely passionate, like me, and they need a way to express themselves creatively or to make friends where they don't really know anyone. It's really hard making new friends most of the time. We really need more funding, so please, take my words into consideration, and before you do anything insane, think about how it would affect the teachers and the students.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Elizabeth Raymond.
Elizabeth Raymond, 72 Old Tavern Road. Good evening. I'm speaking tonight as a concerned parent, a longtime resident of Leominster, and a member of the Cultural Commission. I am concerned for the future of our public school system, the future of our children, and the future of the city of Leominster. I fear that the decision to pass the annual budget will have lasting effects well beyond fiscal year 18 and will impact each and every student and citizen of the city of Leominster. The choice to cut sports, extracurricular activities, music, art, and theater in our schools will be devastating to all, as they are an integral part of our culture and who we are as a city. These are not only activities to be enjoyed on the field or on the stage. There are also many lifelong lessons that are learned when you are part of a team, a band, a chorus, or a theater company. By taking this away from our children, you're also taking it away from our city. Think about the many activities that each and every one of us enjoys here in Leominster. Football games, concerts, the Johnny Appleseed Festival, Veterans Day and Memorial Day services, the Summer Stroll, and Starburst, to name a few. Students of all grade levels participate in these events. Without them, many would not be possible. Our fields will be empty and our stages will be silent. I'm pleased to announce that my daughter is a 2017 graduate of Leominster High School. During the last month of the school year, I attended the National Honor Society ceremony, the band gala, senior awards night, and graduation. As I listened to the administrators announce the colleges that the students are attending, the majors they're pursuing, and the scholarships and awards they received, I could not have been more proud of my daughter, her classmates, and the education that they received at Leominster High. Many of these students participated in band, chorus, theater, and sports, and their success is due not only to skill and talent, but also the support and guidance of their teachers and coaches. Next year, my son will be in the 8th grade at Skyview. With many of the cuts that are being predicted, I've already begun to look at other options for high school, and I'm afraid that I'm not alone. Many other families currently living in Leominster will be turning to private schools, charter schools, and other districts that accept school choice. Families and new businesses that are looking to relocate may choose to move elsewhere due to the impact the budget will have on our school system. I fear that the actions of the mayor, school committee, and city council will have devastating effects that will take years, if not decades, to recover from. Please work together to find a solution that will protect and preserve our students, our city, our future.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, it's a couple minutes actually after 7:30, and I'm required by law to start our meeting, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and then what I'll do is I'll ask for a recess, and we will move back into the public forum. So at this time, the regular meeting of the Leominster City Council for July 10th, 2017 will now come to order. Will you all please stand and join me for a salute to the flag? I will now take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Frida,
Present.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Present.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Present.
Councilor Feckley,
Present.
Councilor Bedanza,
Present.
Councilor Lanciani, Councilor Cormier,
Present.
Councilor Marchian.
Present.
And I am present. All 9 members are present this evening. Does the Vice President, Councilor Feckley, have any records to approve this evening?
I do not have any records this evening, Mr.
Okay,
President.
so we will take care of those at the next meeting.
Motion to
At this
recess.
point, ask for a motion to recess in a second. All those in favor of a recess, please signify. Okay, we now stand in recess, and we will now continue with the public forum. And the next speaker is Andrea Mastriani.
Hello, Andrea Mastriani. I live at 193 Noah Road in Westminster. I have been the theater teacher at Leominster High School for the past 16 years. I am also the advisor for the Leominster High School Theater Company and a director for our 4 main stage productions every year. I love my job, and I love teaching in Leominster. I'm here tonight to urge you to vote for the money to save all of the extracurriculars and arts. We have almost 100 LHS students involved in our shows, and they dedicate a lot of time to producing shows of a professional quality. Our kids need our program. Some of them are planning to make theater a career, and they need to be involved with as many productions as they possibly can be to stay competitive in the incredibly difficult admissions process. We have had amazing success over the past several years getting our students admitted into some of the top BFA theater colleges in the country. These are schools that accept 12 to 15 students out of thousands of applicants. 2 weeks ago, I had the thrill of seeing one of our theater kids perform on the Tonys. She is the first of our kids to get to Broadway, but I promise you she will not be the last. For other students, the LHSTC is a place to belong. It's a reason to get up and come to school in the morning. It is a reason to stay academically eligible. Currently, we are known as having one of the strongest theater programs in the state. In the past 15 years, in the State Drama Festival, we have advanced to the semifinals 13 times, and we have made it to the state finals 5 times. Our musical consistently gets nominated for major awards at the Tammys, which is a local high school musical competition. And 2 years ago, our production of Oklahoma took home the top prize of Best Musical of the Year. We are able to do all of this despite being very underfunded because of the passion and dedication of the theater company's staff and our amazing students. Many of our kids put over 300 hours of work outside of school hours each semester. Please do not take away their passion. For many of our kids, it's the only reason they make it through high school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next is Zachary Nutting.
Zachary Nutting, 169 Central Street, Leominster. This is a little bit of a different point of view on the theater program at Leominster High. Growing up the way I did gives you a different perspective on things than most people have. I'd like to start by saying this all connects, so forgive me, this may take a few minutes. I grew up with no father. He was around, but definitely no role model. Most of you on the council probably know him, considering my senior year in high school, he was Leominster's most wanted for months. My family consisted of my mother, raising myself and my 2 sisters. We struggled from time to time, which led to judgment from which would make me irate. My beautiful mother worked 2 full-time jobs my whole childhood to ensure that I always had what the other kids had. She busted her butt, day in and day out, to make us happy. Growing up, we ran into a lot of challenges. I watched my mom kill herself every day to take care of my siblings and I, just so we could barely get by. Adding water to whole milk, late notices in the mail, ramen for dinner. But we always were fed, had new clothes, went on all the school trips, and had a roof over our heads. As I got older, struggle, it made me mad. This is something I never told her or anyone for that matter, but I felt guilty. I was 17, had a job, and felt like my mother would struggle less without me. One less mouth to feed, one less cell phone bill, and I wouldn't bother her for $20 on a Friday to go out. But instead of telling her how I felt, I mistreated my mother and caused problems in the household until I moved out blaming her. The things I had to do in order to pay my bills at the age of 17 hurts to think about. I was a full-time high school student, worked a full-time job, and it still wasn't enough. In order to keep up with life, I did what was necessary. I sold drugs, I stole, I lied, and hurt the people surrounding myself. Until one day it all caught up to me, and I decided that enough was enough, and I tried to take my life. I failed. The next day at school, I talked to no one. I was clearly not myself, and all I wanted to do was get back home and try again. It wasn't until my 6th period, my favorite class of the day, Theater 1. I remember like it was yesterday. I walked in, sat down. Miss M handed out the class assignment, which was always fun, interesting, and believe it or not, very educational. After we began class, she called me to her desk simply to talk to me, find out what was wrong. She was the first person all day to notice and got me help and gathered the courage to be a better person. I sought help. She saved my life. But after 3 weeks away at a mental hospital, Leominster High told me the only way I could walk with my fellow students was to join an alt-ed program, which is an all-computer class. That, as you can imagine, is not so good, to leave someone like me stuck alone with nothing but his thoughts. It was then Miss M essentially forced me to join theater for good. I auditioned for a play, which was our festival play, which is a competition throughout Massachusetts high schools. I had to learn everything from scratch and honestly felt pretty threatened because all of the other actors were phenomenal, and I was used to football, where when someone is better than you, they are a threat. I can assure you, as someone who played football, that it's a whole lot easier to run a play on the field than on the stage. But they weren't a threat. As I soon learned, they were a family, ready to take me in. I made so many new friends and learned so many new things. They helped me grow not just as an actor, but as a human interacting with other humans. I eventually grew comfortable with the stage, and my first time ever performing during festival won an award given to me by the METG, which is the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild, for excellency in acting, which I still have hung on my wall 3 years later. I fail to see where some of you don't see theater as a necessity. It teaches things we all do on an everyday basis. You learn people skills. It's a tough memory strengthening exercise. And most importantly, you learn how to strive as a team, which I think you guys should incorporate and learn that cutting the budgets is just not acceptable. If it wasn't for theater and the arts and Miss M, who is a human being that has worked at that school longer than any of you could remember, I may not be here today. And just so you all know how my life turned out because of theater, I have a beautiful and loving fiance who is carrying our child who's to be born next month. I drive a beautiful new car that I paid for in full. I'm looking to purchase a house in northern Maine to start a new life with my family. Think about the kids who will never fit in without these programs. The kids who need to express themselves. Think about us, the generation that has to take over after the shit you leave behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is Kate Keene.
Hi, Kate Keene, 38 Rear Cottage Street in Leominster. It's a tough act to follow. What I want to say tonight is that I am so angry. And you have to find more money for our schools. You have to. And the reason that you have to is because this is life or death for people. I have 4 children of my own. I don't want to talk to you about them because somehow I will make sure that they get an education, and it probably will not be in Leominster Public Schools next year unless something changes seriously. I don't know how that will happen, but I will make it happen. I want to talk to you about the kids whose parents don't have that luxury of finding some way to scrimp and save and find other options. I want to talk to you about kids like me when I was a child, which I hate doing because I hate talking. But I grew up as the child of a single disabled parent. We use the term low income today. It was mostly no income when I was a kid. And I am that sort of cliche story where I was able to do well enough in schools. Somehow she always found towns with good schools. That I got into a decent college, and I worked hard enough in my decent college that I got a free ride to an Ivy League doctoral program, which I then left to become a high school teacher. So my life was made by the public schools. I would not be here. I would be working at the Dairy Queen. It was very, very close. But the schools kept me in. The teachers kept me there. Today I'm a history teacher, and I have great love for my subject and my job and what I do. But the kids don't come to school for history. They don't. There's not a kid in that class who's like, yes, tell me more about the Gilded Age. Never happens. They are there for the activities. They're there for the sports. They're there for the teachers who get to know them, who know when they're off, who know when they're having a bad day, who know they have social anxiety and they need to not present at the front of the room, or who know that they're going through some things at home and they check in and ask, hey, how's everything going today? Or I'm really proud of you for speaking up in class. You can't do that with 30 or 40 kids. That's not going to happen. We might meet the needs of our special needs kids because that's legally required and it's on the radar. But those kids that you don't see what the problems are, those ones who are maintaining, who could have been something else, who could have done something else, they are either going to be lost in the shuffle of 30 or 40 kids, or they're just going to wake up and say, why am I going to get out of my house and go to school and sit in the auditorium for 2 hours and then sit in a class where the teacher doesn't see me, doesn't hear me, doesn't really grade my papers, doesn't interact with me one-on-one. We are going to lose our kids. And when we lose our kids, we're going to lose our community. When we lose our community, people are going to stop moving in, and this town is going to fall apart. You have to find more money. This is a crisis. You have to find it. The city might be able to ride out one bad year. Kids don't have one bad year to lose. Please.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Holly Koski.
Hi, I'm Holly Koski. I really wasn't planning on saying much tonight, but again, I have to. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read. Not one part of the custodian contract was followed. The contract expiration date of June 30th was not adhered to. Written notice to the custodians was given to them on Friday, June 30th. What happened to the certified written notice that they were supposed to receive 90 days, 30 days, or a minimum of 5 days prior? What about the meeting that the superintendent said would happen on Friday to review the union contract and the cost savings that the custodians proposed? The law office of O'Reilly, Grosso, and Jones didn't even show up. They showed up an hour late. There were no negotiations. In particular, to make it even worse, today there was a meeting held with the superintendent, one call, and the facility director, offering 12 of the junior custodians that just got booted out jobs. And of course, it wasn't the old ones that got called in. None of the elderly ones. I'd be careful if I were you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Erin O'Toole. Please state your name and address for the record.
Erin O'Toole, 66 Lawrence Street, Clinton. Yes, Clinton, everybody. Don't be jealous. Good evening. My name is Erin O'Toole, and I reside in Clinton. I am addressing you all this evening as a Fallbrook third grade teacher and a union representative. I'm here to talk about the continued and ever-growing concern over who is leading the school department out of this crisis. I don't see them here because we don't have anybody leading us out of this crisis. As of today, notices of rehire have yet to be drafted and delivered. Why is this? Why are they not working towards recovering from the budget deficit? These are the questions that staff is asking. They're calling me, what should I do? Where should I go? And I have no answers as a union representative. If a city budget has passed, most of it tentatively, why aren't decisions being made? If schools were to begin tomorrow, specifically at Fallbrook, we have 2 first-grade teachers, roughly 100 students for 2 first-grade teachers currently. We have 3 second-grade teachers, 120 roughly students that will be coming into second grade. Therefore, other grades are going to undoubtedly need to move teachers to cover the needs in the first and second grade. If this were to occur, I foresee beginning my school year with 30 to 35 students. Can you possibly imagine 35 8-year-olds looking at you on the first day of school? I can't, because I don't even know where I would put them. I have 22 desks as of the day I left school. I've already started looking online at where I could personally purchase desks and tables for my kids, because we don't have the room. Therefore, I am imploring those that have been hired to lead the school department to do just that, lead. If they don't make rehire decisions now, Leominster will be losing dedicated and talented teachers to other districts. Many are already interviewing and accepting those positions. Let me leave you with a final thought. If I ran my classroom like the administration is running the school department, my students would be failing. If students and teachers are to be held accountable, school administrators should be held to the same exact accountability. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next is Xander Vieira.
Hello, my name is Xander Vieira, 93 Lincoln Terrace, Leominster, Mass. The reason I stand here today is the reason why I was accepted into college and the reason I stand here before you today, and that is because of the extracurricular activities at Leominster High School. My first 2 years at the high school led to a 1.8 GPA and a lot of family issues, including the death of my mother. And what was there to mold me into the man I am today? The very things that are proposed to be cut. Theater and many of the beautiful teachers that work there. I joined my junior year and flourished immediately, ending my high school career with a 3.7 GPA my junior year and a 3.6 GPA my senior year. And without the welcoming nature of the art wing inside of LHS, I would not stand before you today. I wholeheartedly believe that this budget should be used to revive the extracurriculars at LHS. Without the arts program inside of LHS, you would not have kids like me or any of the kids you see before you succeeding in life, moving on to college and striving in other theaters worldwide. We are here today because of people like Andrea Mastrani, who kicked my ass into shape and to get into acting, Tim Smith, who personally would sit me down every day and talk to me about life or just my day, Barry Liu, the man who told me to join every day. And every teacher who has passed through those E-wing doors have made a support system that is unmatched anywhere. I am alive today because of the things that are up for cuts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next is Caitlin Doyle.
Good evening, my name is Caitlin Doyle, 962 Main Street, and I am here to present a petition with 853 signatures from people who believe the arts are a vital part of a well-rounded education and all students should have access to them as a part of their high school education. And I do have copies for you guys if you would like them. Throughout high school, I was an avid participant in the activities of the LHS Theater Company. I worked on 19 shows throughout my 4 years. I acted, sang, danced, produced props, helped to build and move sets, assistant directed a show, and even received 3 awards for my work on constructing massive puppets, one of those awards being a state citation from our state representative. Leominster High School offered me the best theater education possible. In fact, that's why I chose to go to LHS. I had the option of joining an honors academy at another school, but that school's theater program paled in comparison to LHS's. If it weren't for LHS's theater program, I would not have gone there at all. 5 years after making said decision, I do not regret it one bit. I learned more in my 4 years at LHS than I ever would have learned at the other school. I learned about leadership, responsibility, respect, and most importantly, myself. The LHSTC isn't just about helping students learn to sing and dance. It's about taking these shy students that don't fit in other groups and breaking them out of their shells and creating confident individuals who are ready to take the world on head on. Without my experiences in the LHSTC, I would not be ready to move out to a completely new place. Might I mention, it's the Bronx. In August, and my sister would not be where she is today either. And following is a statement from her. She says, sorry, but she can't be here. She's working on a cruise ship. So, that kind of trumps this a little bit. My love and passion for theater began in high school. Andrea Mastriani, Tim Smith, and other arts teachers at LHS supported and nurtured my love for theater and encouraged me to pursue theater professionally. Now I work for Disney, one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world. Without theater at LHS, so many teens will lose the only outlet, family, and support system that they have. I can't tell you how much theater meant to me in high school. I don't know where I would be without it. So, as you can see, theater was very important to my sister, and the arts are important to everyone sitting here tonight. Together, okay, so this is going to be a little bit theater and corny, and most of you guys will get it. Together, we are unlimited. We just have to step into the sun with the confidence we will not get burnt. And as I understand that 853 signatures is a lot to read through, I grabbed a few of my favorite highlights. I signed because E310 has been my home freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and I want it to be there my senior year too. The arts are essential to a 21st century education, teaching collaboration, critical thinking, open-ended problem solving, and creativity though in the most authentic way possible. Absolutely no one should be deprived of an arts education, and theater is my life, my passion, my career. I can't let it be taken away from the next generation of technicians and stars. And for the last time, we are not just a drama club. We are the LHS Theater Company, and we are a family.
Thank you very much. Next is, I think it's Jay Burke, 33 Elm. I don't know if I was finding it hard to read. All set?
She said never mind.
Okay. All right. Next is Mary Caffarel. I hope I didn't mispronounce. Please state your name and address for the record.
Mary Caffarella, 4 Prospect Terrace here in Leominster. I am here tonight to ask you to fund the music and the arts in all the schools, not just LHS, not just the middle schools, but all the schools. This music and arts have been a part of my daughter's lives for the past 5 years, starting with Mr. Zuaro, all the way up to Mrs. LeMay and Miss Marceau. My youngest daughter is especially looking forward to this year's musical in the All City, if there is one, if this funding is not approved. At this year's 4th of July on the Esplanade, the host talked about dreaming big and how theater influenced their lives. Leominster is in jeopardy of extinguishing many kids' dreams by cutting the arts at one or more levels of our schools. I hope our kids' dreams aren't going away. A few reasons that the arts are important to Leominster public schools in our city. It has been noted already that civic events, chorus and bands of all levels perform annually at the JA Festival, Winter Stroll, Veterans Day activities, Memorial Day activities, and Starburst. Imagine what it would be like not to have the band, not to have the choruses performing at these events, especially at the Johnny Appleseed Festival coming up in September. Who would run the children's area? How many people would you actually have coming to these events if it wasn't for their students, their children performing? One or both musicals that take place throughout the school year would not take place. Thousands of residents would not engage in supporting our students, and local businesses' support would leave our public schools. The Leominster Music Department receives many generous contributions from the Leominster Rotary Club, the family of Alan McCullough, City Music, just to name a few. Also, we have leominstermusic.org. Russ Davis and Russ Kruger have been there for us for the past umpteen years. Many businesses also sponsor both the musicals at LHS and the All City. Cutting any level of the arts would take away money away from supporting our very talented students. Businesses would invest their money in other areas and not be able to support our students. Our schools deserve better, and so do our students. We have an obligation to foster the talent in Leominster. Ignoring it would be sinful. Music, theater, and art develop the holistic being. Did you actually know that music is the only activity that triggers all aspects of the brain? It also helps lower cortisol levels. Schools that have thriving arts programs produce students that exhibit high levels of academic as well as social emotional intelligence. According to the No Child Left Behind Act, the following are defined as core academic subjects: English, reading or language arts, mathematics, science, foreign languages, civics and government, economics, the arts, history, and geography. Although music, being a part of the arts, is supposedly on the same level as other academic subjects, it is not treated as such. There have been a couple of studies, one being a 10-year study that tracked over 25,000 middle and high school students, showed that these students in music classes receive higher scores on standardized tests than students with little involvement. The musical students scored on average 63 points higher on verbal and 44 points higher on math sections of the SATs than non-music students. When applying to colleges, these points could be the difference between an acceptance or a rejection letter. In 2000, a study of 162 students concluded that students with 2 or 3 years of instrumental music experience had significantly better results on the Stanford Achievement Test than their non-musical counterparts. All in all, it can be shown that music education is a worthwhile investment for improving students' understanding and achievements in academic subjects. Participation in music also enhances a student's creativity. Musical improvisation has benefited people greatly in business. Because situations do not always go as planned, one has to improvise. My daughter is a beautiful example of this. She's in the jazz band. She goes to the jazz camp. They have to improvise. She gets up there and she just does it. This is something that they learn and they thrive with. Music is also a way to make friends. People who, without the musical engagement, they would not have had the opportunity to meet new people, form lasting friendships. Very, very important for these students. Confucius once stated, "Music produces a kind of pleasure which human nature cannot do without." Music education provides personal benefits to students that enrich their lives. Group participation in music activities can also assist in the development of leadership skills. If any of you took music, where would you be without it right now? Would you be in this role? Music can also be comforting to many students. It's a way that they can relieve stress. For students, music classes are not necessarily something that they participate in for a grade or to put on a college application. Students participate in music classes because they enjoy them, they want to be there, and they want to be with people who enjoy it as well. I just want to say one last thing. Plato said it best. Music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to imagination, and life to everything. Please find it in your hearts to support the arts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Tom Blake. Tim, sorry.
I'm just gonna wait till she passes that out. wait till you. I'm just gonna wait till you pass that out. I hate to say turn to page 3 and people say I don't know what you're talking about. I know, it's too quiet now, sorry. I don't think it will. So, good evening, Tim Blake, 500 Kennedy Way. I'm the principal at Skyview Middle School. I'm here not to talk about proposed cuts, but real cuts. The ones that are affecting the kids that the parents are talking about and my teachers over there. I might not be the district leader that people wanted to come here tonight, but I'm going to tell you what I've told my staff, and I think everybody in this community deserves to know regarding what these budget cuts mean for the children at our school. And it's hard for me to explain it, because every time I look at it, I would say, as a parent, would you want your kids to go to the school I'm going to describe to you? If you were a kid, would you want to go? And I've already said this to incoming 5th grade parents, and I'm going to reiterate it here because I've already said it before. I've got 3 sons. I don't live in Leominster, I live in Lowell. They are going into 6th, and they are going into 7th. And when I say I live in Lowell, people usually go, whoa. I said, listen, if I didn't like the schools where my kids go to, I would put them in a car, and I'm pretty sure Leominster would be happy to have them. And what I'm going to describe to you, I wouldn't put my kids in my car to bring to my school where I'm the principal, and that's embarrassing to me. If you look at the first page, those are the cuts. Okay? Every school could do the same thing to you. I've got a lot of pre-professional staff. I'm pretty sure if you want to count up those pink squares, there's about 22 or 23 people. Okay? Now, I understand after the last school committee meeting or city council meeting or wherever the last decision was made where more money got funded back to the district, my job as a principal was then to make more cuts. So let's start with the cuts that are already started. There's no foreign language in my school. There's 2 cuts. Okay? There's no dean in my building. I've got 900 middle school kids. He's not there. I had a reading teacher that said, I'm out of here before I find out what's going to happen at this building. So there's 4 cuts before we got started. And after that, I'm asked to make 8 more. Okay? So what does that mean? Please flip to page 2. At the last school committee meeting, it was frowned upon to cut any of the specialists when that was talked about. So if I'm not to cut any specialists and have to make 8 more cuts, math, science, English, social studies, that's a team of teachers. I need to cut 2 of them. In 6th grade, that's 4 teachers. 7th grade, that's 4 more teachers. You don't have to be a scheduling expert. All you need is a calculator. I've got 300 kids at grade level. If you do 300 divided by 12, that's not a bad number. If you do 300 divided by 10, that's 30 kids. That's a lot. I've got 8. And I've got more than 300 kids coming to my 6th grade class. So right now, in my 6th grade, if we're starting school tomorrow with these real cuts, I have 39 to 40 kids in every one of my classrooms. Please turn to page 3. That's a picture of me today in a classroom with my back against the wall, holding my phone like this. I can't get a picture of 40 desks there for you. So turn to page 4 and page 5, where I went to panoramic, so I can get the whole classroom so you can see what 40 desks look like in a classroom. These are not projected cuts. This is my school that's starting. Parents need to know this. So right now, for my school, if I'm going to keep all specialists, my grade 6 class size, 39 and 40. Grade 7, 36 and 37. There are no advanced learning options. There is no foreign language. If you say, maybe we can shift staff around, if I cut half the specialists, no art, no health, no media, no band, no chorus. I can restore a 7th grade team. And my 7th and 8th grade will be pretty much as is and how it has been. My grade 6 will be 39 to 40 kids. My specials classes will be 37 to 50 kids. There is no creative scheduling to be done. There is no shifting. I've done it, and that's why I'm here tonight. I know I can tell it's probably my time is up, and this is a message that people might not want to hear. But this is the state of my building. This is what it is. I'm not proud of it. And if something isn't done soon, these teachers are gone. What would you tell your son or daughter? What would you tell your brother or sister if that was them? I would tell them to go, and I'm the principal. If something gets fixed in a month, it's too late. And I realize when I'm done talking, and I'm past my 2 minutes, I get it. And I also realize how these meetings are run, that you can't say anything. But if I walk over there, and the only thing there is a polite applause, what is the state of our school? What hope are you giving a parent who is listening to me talk about 40 kids in their classroom? It's not hyperbole, it's not exaggerate. People who know me know I give you the truth. This is the honest truth. And again, maybe this is not the district leadership, the teachers who came up here looking for, but it is the truth of what this building is. If we don't want to do anything about it, then this is how we're opening up. I thank you for your time, and I hope, before everyone leaves here, something can be said about what we're doing next. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is Chris Lord.
Hi, I'm Chris Lord, principal at Leominster High School. Thanks, Tim. Another tough act to follow. Well done. We did something similar at the high school. Mr. Fiandaca is going to be speaking with me. We have done something similar and given you an idea of some of the real cuts going on at the high school and how we've resolved them over the last week or so. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Since the school department's FY18 budget was approved a couple of weeks ago, all the principals have been hard at work trying to plan for the coming year, facing these drastic cuts in these buildings. The team at LHS CTI has been among them, and we've been listening to the community trying to resolve the current impact this budget reduction will have on our students. First, we are required by law to maintain our compliance staff in the buildings. This means our current plan may maintain special educators, paraprofessionals, tutors, most of our guidance counselors, and social workers. Second, we hear loud and clear the community values the fine arts, and these positions and programs have also been maintained. This leaves the core subject areas of English, math, science, and social studies to bear the brunt of our current plan, similar to what you just heard from Tim. Based on the master schedule, we would need to combine current core classes into large college-style lecture classes in the auditorium. All 4 subjects would be taught at the same time in 4 different areas of the auditorium by 4 different teachers. Classes would range from 35 to 99 students and be taught by 1 teacher in each of these core subject areas. Therefore, between 100 and 200 students would be in the auditorium, all but one period of the day, learning their core subjects. In some periods, 1 large class may report to the media center, since 2 large math classes, for example, could not both take place in the auditorium at one time. Because of the significant number of science teachers, those lost in these reductions, about 30 of our science classes will turn into study halls, as there will be no science teacher to teach these students. You can see the attached handout gives you an idea of what those class sizes will look like. Each one of those individual lines is a single class with a number of students taught by 1 teacher in each of those subject areas. As this affects mostly 9th and 10th grade classes, this may understandably impact the instruction of English, social studies, math, and science. Some underclassmen will walk from one area of the auditorium to another for several of their core classes. All of the teachers in English, math, science, and social studies departments will be responsible for teaching at least 1 and perhaps 2 of these large classes in the auditorium, while many of the students will experience 3 and in some cases 4 of these large core classes. Their electives, the fine arts classes, health, will maintain between 20 and 30 students per class. Physical education classes will also remain at 32 to 35 students per class. I suggest we place ourselves in the hearts and minds of the students we love for a moment and imagine what their learning experience will be like next fall. Without additional funding to support the teachers in these classrooms, the academic life of our students will suffer. Thank you for your time. And I understand you can't answer questions, but you can email me or call me on my cell, anything you need. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next is David Fiandaca.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My name is David Fiandaca. I live at 467 Litchfield Street. You've heard a lot tonight. You have already heard about the dilemma we face with the quality and quantity of our academic offerings at the high school, and the outlook for all the schools in our district is equally troubling. I would like to address you now simply as a lifelong resident and taxpayer of this city that we all love. Our mayor and city comptroller have done an admirable job of maintaining the strong financial standing of our city. They are to be commended for that. However, I believe the crux of this financial stability and growth lies in the practice of assessing inordinate indirect charges to the school department budget year after year. While this appears to be a sound financial practice and fully legal, it seems like the only people responsible for determining the amount of the indirect charges are the same two individuals. As city councilors who work closely with our mayor and comptroller, please consider presenting this proposal to them. Last year, the city allocated approximately $26 million to the school department to meet the city's share of net school spending. Then the city withdrew $6 million from the school department in the name of indirect charges. This means that our mayor and city comptroller took back 23% of the money they gave to the school department to do with as they please. And as much as we all have tried to determine the use of the money, we have not been able to get clear answers as to how this money was invested or spent. All we know is that year after year, we keep getting money taken away from our school department budget, and year after year, the financial strength of our city keeps getting stronger and stronger. This is done in the name of saving for a rainy day. But we have a crisis in our school department right now, and not in the future. What if for 1 year, the city took back only 11.5% of the money they give to fund the school department for indirect charges instead of 23%? Using last year's figures, this would mean the city takes back $3 million for indirect charges instead of $6 million and releases the other $3 million back to the school department. This would help us to sustain the quality of education presently offered to our students. Again, I would reiterate that the mayor and the city comptroller have done a good job at making our city financially strong to prepare for a rainy day. I would suggest that it is now raining hard, or maybe pouring. We need to provide our children with the education they deserve. We need to keep more of the money allocated to the school department that we receive each year to meet net school spending. Please consider discussing this proposal amongst yourselves, the mayor, and the city comptroller. I believe that as a team, we can solve this crisis, but we need to work together. I remember very clearly what our Leominster resident from Cameron shared at the last city council meeting. Though he works in Gardner and his wife works in Fitchburg, they bought a home in Leominster because of the quality of our school system. This speaks volumes to the quality of education our students are presently offered in our city. We can't destroy that. Our children need and deserve our support. That same gentleman also shared an old African saying that when the elephants fought, the grass suffered. Us grown-ups, we're the elephants. Our children, they're the grass. Let's work together and not fight. If we can do this, we can keep our grass growing healthy and strong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next is Danielle Bissonette.
Danielle Bissonette, 311 Johnny Appleseed Lane. Tonight I'm speaking on behalf of Janelle Boyso. My name is Janelle Boyso, and I'm writing to you to prevent you from making a huge mistake to the students and young minds that attend Leominster Senior High School. I am a 2011 graduate from the Leominster Senior High School who was actively involved in the theater program from 2008 to 2011. After graduating from Leominster, I moved on to get my BFA in Technical Theater at SUNY Purchase, one of the top theater schools in the United States and one of the most respected and well-known schools to have a degree from on and off Broadway. I am currently working and living in New York City as a lighting technician for Off-Broadway, New York Fashion Week, art events and installations, high-profile events, the Clinton Global Initiative, lighting for high-end stores such as Ralph Lauren, and many other things. I am a very successful woman in the industry, which is largely male, and I'm only 2 years out of college. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for the teachers and support I received through the Leominster Senior High School Theater Department. I would not be such a strong and independent woman if it was not for Miss Andrea Mastriani. I would not be as strong and confident in my technical abilities and experience if it was not for Mr. Tim Smith. I gained skills, knowledge, and experience that prepared me for the career I have now. It would be a great shame if you took that opportunity away from the future and current students of the Leominster community, and I will fight you on that becoming the end result in every step of the way. You need to seriously reconsider where you make budget cuts. The arts are not a throwaway curriculum. I am proudly proof that you can have a successful career as an artist and technician. Sincerely, Janelle Boyso.
Thank you very much. Next is Erin Doyle.
Hi, my name is Erin Doyle, 282 Day Street, Leominster, and I am one of the student technical directors of the high school's theater company. I know that Dr. Lord said that the arts are safe at the high school, but as Mr. Blake said, that might not be the case for the middle school or any of the elementary schools. So I'm speaking today to ask you all to please save the arts. The arts are a place where so many people find their passion and who they are. They allow people to express themselves and connect with others in a safe and welcoming environment. In my time at LHS, I've gotten to spend every year in taking arts electives and doing crew in the after-school theater program, and I can safely say that I would not be the person that I am today without both of those things. They gave me a reason to wake up in the morning and go to school, as they do for many others in the Leominster Public Schools. They allowed me to find what I love to do and what I want to do for the rest of my life. They taught me to accept myself for who I am and to accept others for who they are, and most importantly, they gave me a second home. Please, in considering where this money is going to be spent, think of the arts and the impact they have on students' lives. Please don't deny a student the opportunity to do all the things that I and so many others have gotten to do. Please save all of the arts.
Thank you very much. At this time, that's all that has signed up for the public forum, so I will ask, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? If so, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Kathy Sargent, 104 Avon Street. 2 weeks ago, we were told we can't not pass a budget. We were told we cannot find funding for the budget that the democratically elected school department passed in June. Leominster can't keep doing things the same way with regards to funding schools to the bare minimum. As many of the people have spoken, It's the funding of all our programs, at our elementary levels, the class sizes, at our middle schools, the class sizes, at the high school, our class sizes. We can't keep doing things the same way. Leominster needs a Department of Revenue review to help us manage the city finances better, so we can learn how to fund Leominster public schools to the levels necessary to provide a quality public education for all of our students in all of the grades. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? Please state your name and address for the record.
Zachary Zupko, 20 Buttermilk Road. So before I speak, I just want to announce that this is another perspective story. So, as I hold my hand is a turtle that my father gave to me last Christmas. He stated that what he said to me for this turtle is that it represents who I am, is that I'm just slow in life. So when I was first hesitant to join theater. I didn't know what I was going to get myself into, and just like with the turtle, I didn't know who to talk to, and I was just shy at first. And of course, the first few months can be a little bit difficult for it. So after the first few months going through theater, I started to do more things that were outside my comfort zone. I was a spotlight operator during my first few years. I did acting during my years as well, and then in my senior year, I was a light board operator. And the funny story is that I actually learned how to program lights during festival in like one day or so to help out with other schools that needed to program lights into their programs as well. And what I got from going through theater was incredible. I met a group of people that cared and cared about everyone. Because during my freshman year, I was bullied and teased around a lot. And when I came into theater, I told them about what was happening, and they cheered me up. They helped me through it. It was one of the reasons why I still went to high school for it. So, last day for theater. Unfortunately, the person that's here is not here right at the time for it. She told me something that I remember probably for the rest of my life. She told me that her younger brother, who's in I would say elementary, middle school, sees me as an inspiration to join the arts, to go for it. And it really helped out a lot for me. So if it goes through, if removing the arts actually happens for it, then all I could say is that there will be unforeseen consequences that will happen, and I don't want that to happen, and nor does the underclassmen as well. So all I have to say is just please save the arts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum?
Kate Phillips, 172 Brookline Street, Worcester, Massachusetts. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Phillips, and I am a 5th grade teacher at Francis Drake Elementary School, as well as the union representative at that school. First off, I want to thank you all for your hard work and countless hours you have put into trying to establish a budget that supports the students of Leominster. They deserve it. While much thought has gone into this process, the fact still remains that with the current budget, the students of all demographics are still losing out on the education that they deserve. You have heard from the middle schools, you've heard from the high schools, you've heard from some of the elementary schools. In my school, we currently have 14 teachers who were given a pink slip at the end of the school year and are still uncertain, like all of the other 200 and some odd people who got pink slips, are still uncertain as to whether they will be able to continue to educate our youth. With these cutbacks, our building is losing the following positions. We are losing 1 sub-separate applied behavior analysis teacher, 1 media teacher, 1 art teacher, 1 special education teacher, 2 kindergarten teachers, 1 first grade teacher, 2 third grade teachers, 2 fourth grade teachers, both of our ELL teachers, and also our nurse. These are positions that are vital to the workings of our school and to our entire staff's dedication to continually doing our jobs that your children deserve. In addition, all tutors and paraprofessionals who were in their positions for 3 or less years were given letters of non-rehire. Ultimately, these cutbacks will result in larger class sizes, as you've already heard. They will also mean that we will be unable to provide for our students based on whatever services they may need, whether that's Title I, whether that's ELL, whether that's special education services. And they will also, ultimately, every student's education will be jeopardized. This is absolutely unacceptable for our children, and they deserve better. They are not the ones who can get up here and talk. We are. I ask you to please continue your tireless efforts to find more funding so that our future professionals can grow to reach their utmost potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum?
Gary Zimmerman, 47 Lynn Haven Road. Great talks tonight. This is a little under a different topic. Every year I've come to the budget meetings and find the budget submitted at the last minute. And this is the exact reason why I say it should be submitted at least 2 months earlier. Because these are people's livelihoods, and this should be discussions that should have happened a month ago, if not 2 months ago. And it's done every year. So something should be put in place so the budget gets put in earlier, decisions can be made before pink slips have to go out and everything's been analyzed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum?
Sorry. Actually, I'm not, sorry. Thank you so much for allowing me a minute or two to speak. My name's Larry Zawara. I live at 8 Brentwood Drive in Leominster. I am not from this area. I was not born here, but I chose to come here, and I love this city. And as Ms. Mastriani and all the teachers sitting in and the administrators too, I love my job. I have the best job at Francis Drake. I teach music, and there's not a day that I don't look forward to going. And I'm ready to go back now, actually, to be honest with you. But we are in a dangerous time for our school and our city. Resources continue to be diverted away from our schools and our students. Teachers continue to do more with less each and every year. Our city is clearly not bankrupt. Our schools clearly need to learn how to use the resources provided better. We need leadership. I've read and heard a lot of solutions to these woes that our schools are in. It is clear, though, every resident of our city has already lost, no matter what happens in the next weeks and months ahead. We are all affected by this. I'm going to speak for the music program. I'm sorry I cannot speak for art or anybody else. I can only speak to what I know. These programs, whether it's music, art, media, in some cases, are the only thing that our kids are successful in. They may have trouble academically, but the arts is something they do well in. I am so proud of each one of the students who is sitting here tonight. Most of you I know. Most of you were very, very little when you were in my room. Some of you didn't even talk in my room, and now you are speaking up in front of all these respected officials. I'm very proud of you. Thank you. Studies show that participation in the arts results in higher achievement in state exams. Community involvement. Councilor Marchand, the JA Festival is coming up. I'm proud to say that the school department, the music department, 50% of the entertainment is the music department. I'm very proud of that. I know you are too. And if these programs don't happen, 50% of the day will be no entertainment, or you'll be paying, which the Beatles, they are very well worth it, but we provide free service, and our parents come out, and you are well aware of this, and we thank you for the opportunity and the support. But if we're not there, there will be people will not show up, and that'd be a shame, because that is a fabulous, fabulous day in the city of Leominster. Also, Starburst, another program, another festival in our city that will take a severe step backwards without the entertainment of the school department. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Cutting any level of the music department will result in less free entertainment, less families coming out, and less attendance at all these wonderful events the city provides. Also, when kids perform throughout the community, they have a sense of pride. They are engaged within the community in a positive way. The theater program, both at LHS and at the middle schools, is a tremendous program. I cannot even begin to tell you. I played in the orchestra when Ms. Mastriani and Mr. Smith run that program, they put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours long after everyone else has gone home, had dinner, sitting and watching their favorite show and taking it easy. They are still at the high school. Miss M is literally going out of her mind and saying, OMG, get on the stage. No. Anyway, that's just, I know both programs and what goes into it. Hundreds of hours, most of it on their own free time. The business community would also leave our schools. We have developed the music program and the theater program have developed a strong reputation with many local businesses. Thank you to the Leominster Rotary with Claire Frieda. Hundreds of thousands of dollars have gone to the music program because of the great work that we have done. And they believe in us. Thank you, Claire Frieda and the Rotary. Thank you to the Leominster Access Television. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment has gone to the school department because of Leominster Access Television. The family of Alan McCullough, that grant was awarded to the music department, lifetime grant, hundreds of thousands of dollars. If these programs aren't around, this money goes away, and they're going to take their money and invest somewhere else. The City Music, which is right down in the mall, again, hundreds of thousands of dollars they provide to the school and to the students of our city. It would take years for these businesses to come back without a music program, whether it be at the high school, middle school, elementary, all three. 125 students in the auditorium for a study hall is not the best choice for our students. I believe the students being in art, music, TV production, media, theater would be a more productive use of their time rather than sitting in an auditorium and having a study hall, and whatever that means, because there won't be much studying or learning going on. And taxpayers have lost as well. They are frustrated. They have a right to be frustrated. I'm a taxpayer. I'm frustrated. Unfortunately, there is no win in this situation. No matter what is decided in the coming weeks, nobody is going to win. Our students won't win. Our city will not win. And again, my message is everybody has lost something in this battle. I hope that the decision makers can come together to figure something out. It is very clear that a large divide exists between the mayor and the school department. I hope problems can be solved respectfully and with the best interests of everyone, including our students, moving forward. I urge the council to approve funds for the school department tonight, and I would ask you to approve a DOR request. Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum?
Good evening. My name's Tim Smith, 26 Hemlock Road, Ashburnham. I had no intention of speaking tonight, but given the outpouring of support for the arts, I felt the need to stand up. My name has been stated on a few occasions, so I felt the need to put a face to it. I'm very glad, I'm thrilled that so many former students, current students, future students spoke on behalf of the arts. I'm heartened by the fact that Dr. Lord spoke, and it sounds as though at the high school, the arts are at least tentatively not in jeopardy. The middle school and elementary schools do not sound maybe as firm on that. That's concerning. Many people have spoken about that. I actually want to speak from a different hat. I don't currently teach this. I currently teach theater and television and film, but I spent 10 years of my career teaching history in a classroom with 20, 25, 30 students. It's scary to think of teaching a subject like history. Someone said earlier, students don't come to school, most of them, excited to learn history. That's not the subject they're coming there for. What does that is a good teacher in front of them. That's what brings them into that classroom. That's what lets them learn that. There will not be good teaching going on if there are 40 or 50 or 100 students in front of that history or math or science or English teacher. It simply isn't going to happen. There has to be something. Mr. Fiandaca said, there's a rainy day fund and it's pouring. If that's the solution, maybe that's the solution. But there's a crisis. If we want this city's education, and I'm a 2001 graduate of Leominster High School, I grew up in Leominster, although I don't live here anymore. My family has been in Leominster for generations. My grandfather framed many of these pictures that are hanging on the wall. I would love to send my children to this school. I would. I live in Ashburnham. Oakmont is considered a good high school. Their district is considered strong. I would love to send my students to the Leominster school systems. I believe in it. But with the cuts being talked about, the school system will be decimated overnight. It will not take years to hurt it. It will happen overnight. If we open our doors next year with 50 or 100 students in a class, it's ridiculous to even say that. Something has to be done. I don't know if it's you who can find that, if it's the mayor, or if it's the school committee. But someone in leadership of this city has to find something to be done to save these schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? For the second time, would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? Okay, please step to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
It's my buddy Chase. He's a theater arts rock star. So, Tom Kanakia, 315 Joslin Street in Leominster. Could you hold that for me, please? Thank you. I've read a lot to you over the last couple of weeks. I didn't prepare anything to read tonight, so I'm just going to speak off the top of my head, but mostly from my heart. And I would like to say that one of my greatest joys, luckily our music teacher Bob Landry asks me every year if I would play in the orchestra for the middle school musical, which I always oblige. And one of the greatest joys for me is when the kids come out for their bows to be surrounded by about 100 to 125 elementary school kids with their feet dangling over the edge of the stage, kicking, smiling, eyes nice and wide. And let me tell you, as a teacher with 23 years experience, you cannot put a per pupil expenditure price on that. Okay, a couple of facts about Leominster, and I'd like mostly to talk about why Leominster does need a DOR review. Again, off the top of my head, so forgive me if I forget anything. Out of 251 cities and towns in the state of Massachusetts that have a single tax rate, Leominster is ranked 30th highest. Out of the 353 cities and towns in the state that have a single and dual tax rate, Leominster is ranked 37th highest. We also have an issue regarding spent-to-date reports. For those of you that do not know, spent-to-date reports are the financial reports on closeout date, which is June 30th of the fiscal year. And essentially what they show is the original budget allocation, any transfers or adjustments made in, as well as how much of that budget allocation was used, and most importantly, the percentage of the budget used, and therefore the amount of taxpayer money left over. I would like to share some numbers with you. In fiscal year 14, okay, $6.8 million of taxpayer money, property tax payments, yours and mine, was left over in the spent-to-date report. Fiscal year 15, $5.7 million of taxpayer money, your money, my money, left over. Fiscal year 16, $6.9 million of your taxpayer money and mine left over in the spent-to-date report. Fiscal year 17, I was in the comptroller's office today. I have the spent-to-date report for fiscal year 17, which just closed about a week and a half. We seem to have hit a record for taxpayer dollars, your property tax payments, my property tax payments, not utilized fully. The amount of money left over in the spent-to-date reports for fiscal year 17, $8.4 million. Let me share with you some information regarding free cash. This comes from my friend, Mr. Jay Sullivan, who is the Director of Technical Assistance Bureau at the Department of Revenue. And I quote him specifically. Under sound financial policies, a community strives to generate free cash in an amount equal to 3 to 5% of its annual budget. Jason, would you hold that, please? Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to those numbers I just gave you. For fiscal year 14, $6.8 million is 6.5%. of our property tax payments left over. 5.7 million, that's 5%. 6.9 million, that is 6.2%. 8.4 million is 7% going into free cash. Mr. Mayor, this is unconscionable to me. Thank you, sir. I would also like to briefly remind you that for 8 of the last 9 years, Leominster has not exceeded net school spending by more than 1%. Okay? In fact, this year alone, we are 1/10 of 1% above net school spending. Mind you, net school spending is our bare bones skeletal minimum for offering services, educational services to our students. We are $59,569 above the bare bones minimum net school spending. The subject of a DOR review is nothing new. You will recall in 2010, the Massachusetts Association of School Business Officers conducted a financial management review looking specifically at the school department's working relationship with City Hall. In that review, they identified severe inefficiencies and waste in regards to 3 areas. Those areas, my friends, were accounts payable, purchasing, and payroll. I shared a rather funny story with you about payroll previously. The City Council graciously in 2011 passed a resolution asking the mayor for a free, comprehensive DOR review, which the DOR's top financial talent in the state will come in, look over not just the books, but the entire budgeting process from beginning to end, which was the formulation of the 30th highest property tax rate in the state, based on the differences between estimated tax receipts and actual tax receipts. They should be relatively close. Leominsters are extremely far apart, which always makes our budget look underfunded, which is why we have experienced the property tax increase every year under our current mayor's tenure. But going back to the association's financial management review regarding a waste in accounts payable, purchasing, and payroll, the DOR resolution passed by the City Council, the mayor neglected that. In fact, he did not give any attention to it. But a DOR, as you know, City Council friends, is nothing new. In fact, in 2015, our City Council's finance chairman was upset because the City Council rightfully was not told of a recent decision to suspend local aid to the city until the city filed its annual end-of-the-year report. In fact, the City Council chairman at the time said, if I may, in my opinion, there was a lack of accountability going on. Okay. And the City Council took up the issue asking the mayor if he may now act on a vote from the 2011 City Council resolution requesting a DOR review. City Council asked the mayor if they may now, in 2015, just a couple of years ago, act on a vote the council took in 2011 to have the Department of Revenue review the city's finances. Again, that went unheeded. Let me quickly talk about the stabilization fund. Out of 321 cities and towns reporting their stabilization fund totals to the Department of Revenue, and incidentally, Leominster has not reported their stabilization fund total since 2015, but out of the 321 that have, based on our 2015 submission of $14 million, Leominster has the 13th highest stabilization total in the state. Out of 321, $14 million. I'd like to remind you again, money that goes into free cash, certified in stabilization. That originates as property tax payments, my friends. The property tax payments that you and I pay ends up in free cash, and then in the free cash disbursements papers, which I received from the comptroller personally, he handed them to me, you see the allocation of, most recently, $3 million on April 24th of 2017. $14 million of stabilization fund money. That is your money, that is our money. I would like to end briefly, sorry, just to let you know that education is expensive. And the reason it is expensive, the reason it takes up 65% of our city budget is because it has value. My friends on the city council, you know education has value. You know it is expensive. To me, as a parent, and to me as a taxpayer who wants to see our money spent more wisely, who wants to see efficiencies improved, who wants to see waste eliminated, and who wants to see the priority of the students in the city's taxpayers put first, not gathering all this money in stabilization. That should be the priority. Those are some of the reasons, just some of them, why the city, why you and I are deserving of a DOR review. It's the best talent in the state. It does not cost the city one penny. There's been some argument on social media today about how it's wasteful of time. What is wasteful to me is not having a free DOR review make your city a better place for all of us to live, for our children to go to school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum?
Hi, Zoe Zupko, 20 Buttermilk Road. I am a graduate of 2014 from Leominster High School. I'm currently attending University of Massachusetts Amherst, studying animal science and animal care management. I don't have anything prepared. I'm just going to spew off what's been going through my head, and I can say that this is really eye-opening. It's really disappointing and disgusting, in my opinion. A lot of where I am now would not be for the school and education that I gained from the city. I am going to list off things that I am hearing are going to be cut. I took AP Biology, AP Language and Composition, AP Physics, AP Psychology, JV Soccer, Track and Field, Theater. And I'm hearing all this is about to be cut, and I would not be where I am today without all of that. I wouldn't be in the college that I am because of the amazing teachers that wrote me recommendation letters. Mr. Oxford, Miss Oliveri, and Miss M all helped me get to where I am today. I was ranked 18 of a class of 440, and to this day in college, I have attained Dean's List for every semester, and it's all because of where I come from. It's just really sad, honestly. You know, I'm speechless. I don't know. Like, it's awful. The school provided me the chance to, when I was a sophomore, I went to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands, which I think helped a lot because of that and because of the teachers that I had. And the school helped me get the chance to go abroad again, People International Program. And they are very select on what they do. We had to be interviewed and picked selectively because we are representatives of America when we do these trips. And I stayed with a host family in Ireland, and we were supposed to bring something to show where we were from. And I picked a book on Leominster and told them about where I'm from and what I'm proud of. And they thought it was very impressive. Even at school, when I tell people, I met kids that took theater in Sharon and Peabody and such, and hearing that they took festival, which is the state drama competition, hearing, oh, you're from Leominster, you guys are really good, like hearing how impressed they are. And when I was in school, it was my junior year when we did Seussical. Seussical, the musical, sold out both nights. And we got on the news for it. And for Leominster to get on the news, I think is a pretty big deal. And then we went to finals for Charlotte's Web. And to be among some of these high-ranking schools, Acton, Boxborough, Framingham, all these schools that have a lot of money, basically buy their sets, buy their costumes, everything. And we work from the ground up to make our sets and make our costumes, and to be sitting among them in Boston performing, I think is a huge deal. And I love theater. It's been great. I may not have been a huge leading role or anything, and I may not do it now in college, but without it, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be I interned at Stone Zoo in Stoneham for 10 weeks, and that involves working with children, speaking publicly to the people. I would not have been able to do that without theater. Just because I'm not getting involved in performing in Broadway doesn't mean that it doesn't help me for other careers. Like, recently, I went to the Boston Science Museum, and hearing these people talk about science and perform for children at the same time, they had to have some background in the arts to be able to do that. It's more than just that. In a scientific background, I need theater because I need to be able to speak to people. And my brother, Zach, who spoke earlier, the fact that he did theater is a huge revelation because he is autistic and not many people know, but autism, with that, a lot of kids don't end up speaking in general. And the fact that he's been on stage, memorized lines, and performed is a huge accomplishment. He would have never done that without arts. So please, don't cut these important classes, these teachers that have made such a difference. I wouldn't be where I am today. I would have never been accepted to Boston University, which I thought, I'm never going to make that. It's not an Ivy League school, but it's still up there. And I got accepted because of where I came from, the classes I took, and the extracurriculars that I had. So please, you have to consider these students need, and speaking of how hard it was for the college process, is not easy. These kids need these classes and extracurriculars, otherwise they're not going to cut it for college. It's getting harder these days. It's not going to happen, so please think about what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak to public forum?
Janice Upco, 20 Buttermilk Road. I want to say I'm very proud of my kids coming up here and saying this. We are not natives of this city. I have been here 17 years. I love this city. I think it's a great city. Zoe went to a private school for 6 years, and people ask me, well, is she going to go to Leominster? And trust me, I thought about putting her in a private school, keeping her in it, but I heard such great things about the school. I thought, why not? I think that, and I have to tell you, I'm relieved, because Zach graduated this year, that they don't have to put up with any of this. I think this is a travesty. Where did the money go? I mean, that's the question I think everybody in this room wants to know. Why all of a sudden is there not enough money for the arts, for the AP classes, for the custodians who, from what I hear, lost a lot of them lost their jobs. These are people's livelihoods. The school system is the crux of a city, I think. I mean, if you go to these little towns that don't have, any of this, there really aren't many people who live there. And I think you're going to see a trickle-down effect. You're going to see people leaving. You're going to see businesses. And everybody has said this already. I'm not saying anything new. But in just seeing the big picture, I'm afraid. I'm afraid for the city. I don't know that I really want to stay here if things like this are going to continue to happen, because it's not going to bode well for anybody. I mean, I compare the Leominster school system to the other schools in the surrounding areas. Zachary, oh my God, I wrote a letter to the superintendent. Dr. Lord knows. Mr. Fiandaca got it as well. I can't say enough about the Leominster schools and how well he has done. I mean, if it wasn't for the teachers and the support that he had, I'm telling you, he wouldn't be where he is. He's been in the Leominster school system since preschool, since he was 3. And both of them are a product of the schools. I can't say enough. He's been accepted to Worcester State in the fall. Zoe's going to be a senior at UMass Amherst. It's because of the schools. I mean, I hope that people hear this, that this is their foundation. This is their foundation as adults going out into the world and doing what we all do. If they don't have that, they're not going to be producing adults. I mean, I just don't know what else to say, but I know it's a huge undertaking running a city, doing budgets, doing all that. But something really needs to be done. I mean, something. I mean, otherwise, I don't know. I don't, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? And for the third and final time, would anybody else like to speak at the public forum?
Hello, my name is Steve Weldon. I live on 78 Jordan's Way in Leominster. My family and I moved to Leominster in 2003 from a relocation from New Jersey. My company moved to Cambridge, and I wasn't really familiar with the area. My boss got a house in Concord, and I looked at the real estate in Concord, and that was a little bit above my price range. But I looked along the train line and spoke to real estate agents, and they said, you know, Leominster, it's a little bit more reasonable than some of the other towns. It has commuter rail, which goes into the city, and it has a really good school system. And that was a selling point for me, and we've been here ever since. I still feel like I'm new. It's been 14 years. My daughter started kindergarten here and is going into high school next year. My son just graduated from Leominster High School. And I have to say, it's absolutely amazing what the school has done with the minimum required by law. We have heard from so many people that the Chapter 70 financing from the state just simply isn't sufficient, and that's true. And yet, we paid the minimum. And I think the system here is different. In New Jersey, we had a school board which was independent of the town council. We voted on the school budget separately. So the situation that we're in, that the mayor is automatically on the school board and is able to disregard all the other members and present whatever budget he wants, and seemingly has all the budgetary power in the city, is kind of concerning for me. And I think it should be concerning for all of us, whether or not you agree or disagree with the mayor and his kind of continuing fight against public education in the city. It's obviously not a priority for him. I don't say this based on personal knowledge of what the mayor thinks. I'm a data person. I'm basing this on 30 years of data. We can all download this information from the Department of Education website for the state, and we can see that Leominster has not funded its public schools. And I think that's terrible. We hear a lot about income inequality in our society. And I think that public education is the one thing that, when effective, can deal with that. There are kids in this community who are from low-income families, many of them new to this country. They don't have the opportunity to switch districts, to hire extra tutors. And the school system as it is, even with the minimum required by law, has done an amazing job meeting the needs of this challenging community, as well as the kids who don't have these challenges. Technical education is a really hot area now. And I've always been impressed that Leominster had the foresight to combine technical education with the standard high school. Again, where I came from, they were two separate schools, so you didn't have the opportunity to do both. And I think that that's fantastic. And one of the few positive things that's come out of attending these meetings is I found out that Councilor Claire Frieda was involved in that decision. I thank you for your foresight. And I think that as it is now, we are really lucky. When I attended the award ceremony this year, which was a joint ceremony for the LHS as well as the CTEI, there were so many of those CTI kids that when they went up to get their award, it was announced, and this student has a job with this company, and this student has a job with this company. They were walking out of there with jobs, with training. So we're doing something right in this city. Let's fund it, for goodness sakes. Let's keep it going. Let's not tear it down. And another thing which I heard recently or read recently in the paper was that for some of our council members, the top priority is to build a new police station. Now, I am not a real estate expert, but I have never heard of anyone looking for a new house saying, "Do you have a beautiful new police station?" It's really important to me. In my 14 years, thankfully, I've never been to the police station, and I hope to never be there. But at a town council meeting a few meetings ago, from our excess fund, we spent $20,000 to buy new beds for our prisoners. $20,000. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in overtime. And we've heard from our students tonight that the investment in education can prevent a lot of that need. Let's put our money there. Yes, I want to support our law enforcement people. I appreciate the work they do. And the point is not that I am against a police station. I want there to be a police station, but I also want us to fund our schools. So please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum?
David Tall, 16 Colonial Drive. And it certainly sounds like there's a crisis tonight in the past meetings that I've attended. And this may be self-serving, but I just don't think no matter where the money comes from, now's not a time to put $5 million into new athletic fields.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak to the public forum?
My name is Russell Davis. I live at 346 West Street. I'm here for my buddy Russ Kruger. Please don't let his 10 years and 800 videos he's done of all your kids be for naught. He spent a lot of time, thousands and thousands of hours and thousands of dollars of his own money. He's got no kids in the Leominster school system doing this to promote the arts in Leominster. Please, please don't tell him all his work was for nothing.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak to the public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak to the public forum?
My name is Rebecca Lambert. I live at 15 Sterling Way in Leominster. If you had seen me 2 years ago, there would be absolutely no chance of me getting up to speak here. And as you can hear by the laugh, that's very true. About 2 years ago, the start of my sophomore year, I joined the Leominster Theatre Company by being forced to join by one of my friends, and it was absolutely the best thing that's happened to me. I met so many people I wouldn't have otherwise known, and I joined a family, as many of them have said. But the theatre company isn't the only thing that's important, and it's not the only thing that could be cut. So many other extracurricular activities. Of course, I'm drawn to theater because it's what I know. It's what's important to me. But there's things that are important to everyone else as well. All of the extracurriculars are important. It's not only theater, and it's not only anything else. So many of the arts programs are needed at every level. I didn't only join theater in high school. I was in art club in middle school. And though that didn't make as much of an impact on my life, it still helped me to meet new people. It helped me make the friend that forced me to join theater company. And without that, I might not be where I am today. Arts are important at every level. In elementary school, some of the only things I remember are from art class. It's something that's always been important to me. It's something that I've always been interested in. I can't imagine my elementary school or middle school experience without the arts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? Once again, would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? For the third and final time, would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I declare the public forum closed. And we will now stand back in session, and we will move right into communications. We have, the first thing would be an item under suspension of the rules.
In a letter dated July 6, 2017, from the mayor, addressed to the city council members, dear members of the city council, please accept the following communication under suspension of the rules. I respectfully request the approval of the CDBG Budget Action Plan for year 43. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact my office anytime. Sincerely, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor.
Okay, all those in favor of suspending the rules? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of suspending the rules, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8 to 1, the rules have been suspended, and I will refer this to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course. And I understand we will be having the planning director down here to discuss it.
Yes. Yep, okay. All right, so this item has been given regular course. Moving on to communications, beginning with C-1.
C-1, relative to the appropriation of $1,300,000 to the school department expense account, same to be transferred from the stabilization fund.
C-1 will be referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course, please.
Okay, C-1 has been given regular course. C-2.
Mr. President?
Yes.
While we're talking about 1.3, can we get a breakdown of exactly what that is?
Sure.
Before the next meeting?
Yes.
I think there seemed to be some confusion at the school committee meeting as to exactly what that number represents.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to get that.
Okay. All right, C-2.
C-2, relative to the appropriation of $55,000 to the school transportation expense account, same to be raised by fiscal year 2018 revenues.
C-2 is also referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Yes, Mr. President. Again, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
Okay, and C-2 has also been given regular course. Moving on to petitions, 1-18.
1-18, Claire Frida, eliminate rule number 34 entitled Legal Opinions regarding the City Council rule that applies to council access to the city solicitor.
Okay, and 1-18 will be referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course, and I will defer to the petitioner if she wants to refer this to anybody. No. Okay, regular course.
Okay, 1-18 has been given regular course. 2-18.
2-18, National Grid and Verizon New England Incorporated, Central Street, Route 12. Install 4 jointly owned poles on Central Street, Route 12, beginning at a point approximately 360 feet north of the center line of the intersection of Research Drive and Central Street / Route 12, and continuing approximately 90 feet in a northern direction.
Okay, and 2-18 is referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
2-18 will be referred to the DPW regular course, first time on the agenda. We need to vote on a hearing date of 7/24/17 at 6:50.
Okay, and let the record reflect that I will not be voting on this petition that involves my employer. So all those in favor of giving this regular course with a referral to the DPW and setting a hearing on July 24th, 2017 at 6:50 p.m., please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8 to 0, 2-18 has been given regular course and that hearing has been established. Moving on to 3-18.
3-18, National Grid, Research Drive, and Central Street. Install underground electrical conduits beginning at a point approximately 360 feet north of the center line of Research Drive and Central Street, Route 12, and continuing approximately 2,500 feet in a westerly direction. Also, approximately 400 feet of concrete encased conduits and 1 manhole on west side of Central Street, Route 12 from pole 150-5. National Grid to petition for approximately 2,500 feet of concrete encased conduits and 9 manholes currently in Research Drive that were installed when the road was private, as well as 3 new road crossings from manholes 4, 7, and 8.
Okay, and 3-18 will also be referred to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Again, regular course, referral to the DPW. We need to establish a hearing date on 7/24 at 6:55.
Okay, so all those in favor of giving this regular course and referring this to the DPW and establishing the hearing for July 24th, 2017 at 6:55 p.m., please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9 to 0. This has been given regular course and the hearing has been established. Moving on to matters before the City Council. items under Ways and Means. And first, we have the 2017-2018 election workers, and I will refer this to the chairwoman of Ways and Means. Are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. 2017-2018 election workers, terms to expire August 31st, 2018. Was regular course at our last meeting. Since then, I find no reason why these individuals should not be appointed, so I would recommend that all of these individuals be appointed, that their appointments be granted.
Okay. Councilor Marchand, are you all set?
I concur, thank you.
Councilor Lanciani? Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant the election workers for 2017-2018. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting this, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, the 2017-2018 election workers have been appointed. Moving on to items under Legal Affairs, 69-17. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am. Thank you, Mr. President. Michael J. King, grant an easement for an existing driveway for the property located at 767 Willard Street. Mr. President, I'd ask for further time, one more time on this.
Okay.
I do want to reach out to Mr. King, but I think
if I may,
it's inevitable that we're probably going to be asking for leave to withdraw.
Right. If I may, he called me this morning at about 11:30.
Okay.
He had a meeting with his attorney.
Okay.
And based on that meeting, he's asking for us to give it, one more meeting. I guess that his attorney is going to meet with the mayor and see what they can do
Okay.
for a resolution. His attorney said that a lease agreement is probably not what he'd advise, so they're still working on it. And at this time, if we can just give it further time, and then at the next meeting, by then there should be some direction as to which way we're going to have to go with this, but that's
Okay.
the latest.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. So the recommendation, unless anybody on Legal Affairs disagrees, would be for further time.
Okay, all right. So it sounds like there's a recommendation by the Legal Affairs Committee to give 69-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 69-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 69-17 has been given further time. Moving on to 80-17.
8017, John M. Dombrowski, accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 32, pursuant to Special Act 329 of the Acts of 1987, entitled, quote, "An Act Increasing Local Control Over the Annual School Budget," end quote. This, unfortunately, this isn't going to solve any of the current problems. Is actually doing some research relative to, if there was an ordinance that could be drafted mandating a percentage over net school spending every year. I'm still doing that. I'm not coming up with anything positive in that end. But I did come across this. This simply is a tool that we might be able to use. I know the towns that have adopted it, Pittsfield being one of them, have used it very sparingly because, frankly, we're usually at the tax mandate. So it's a tool. I'd ask the council to accept it. It's still, even if it were available to us, it wouldn't be something we could do without the mayor's approval, but I still think it's important. So I would ask that the council adopt this and poll my committee.
Sure, okay. Councilor Frida?
I support it. All right, you're just looking for a vote
Just
now
a
or
recommendation.
discussion?
We'll have
Just-
some
yeah,
discussion
just
in a
to-
moment, just a recommendation at this time.
It is a tool. It's not going to help us now because they're at the 2.5 limit. But for everything to fall into place, to be available for 2.5, or the school system to recommend, the school committee to recommend a budget that's different than the city budget. It is a tool, still needs a vote of the council, so, I mean, there's a future. don't know what's gonna happen, so I support having this available to us. Without it, we can't do anything, so.
Okay. Councilor Marchand?
Through the chair, I concur.
Okay. Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr?
Yes, I support it.
Okay. And Councilor Bedanta?
I agree with the counselor at large, and the chances of all the stars lining up to use this particular section of the statute probably isn't very great, but if in fact they did, the tool would be available, and I think we ought to have it, so I'll support it.
Okay. All right, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 80-17. Is there any discussion? Okay. All right, seeing none, all those in favor of granting 80-17, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 80-17 has been granted. Moving on to 81-17.
8117, Mr. President, Interim Chief Michael Goldman amends Section 13-34 of the revised ordinances entitled No Parking on Certain Streets by adding the north side of Wachusett Street beginning at the intersection of Pleasant Street, 450 feet west on Wachusett Street. My recommendation is to grant 8117. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
If I may, first, the Assistant City Clerk has gotten word that when they submitted this petition, they made a mistake, and they meant to say by adding the south side of Wachusett Street.
Oh, okay.
Instead, it says north, so maybe you could, if you could
I'll
ask
make a
for.
motion to amend 8117 to delete north and replace it with south.
Okay, do I, just have that in a second? All those in favor of amending 81-17 to replace north with south, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, north has been replaced with south. So at this time,
I'd recommend adopting or granting 8117 as amended and ask you to poll the committee.
okay, Councilor Frida, Councilor Marchand,
concur.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, Councilor Bedanza.
Yeah, this was a constituent concern. I guess that's a very narrow section of the street, and I asked the traffic people to go out and look at it, which resulted in this particular petition.
Okay.
So I'd be in favor of it.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 81-17. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 81-17, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 81-17 has been granted. Moving on to 82-17.
Petition 8217, Carolyn A. Parker for NJLJ Properties LLC. Grant a license to store a total of 35,000 gallons, of which 26,000 gallons is gasoline and 9,000 gallons is diesel fuel at 180 Central Street. We have a hearing scheduled for July 24th, 2017 at 7 o'clock p.m. The recommendation is further time.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to give 82-17 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving 82-17 further time, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, 82-17 has been given further time. Moving on to the City of Leominster's financial report. Is the Chairman of Finance ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. Starting with the free cash summary for fiscal year 2017, free cash was certified at $9,207,654. So far, all of the pending appropriations in ones passed total $8,076,839, leaving a balance of $1,130,815. Turning next to the stabilization fund, we began the fiscal year with a stabilization fund balance of $14,550,850.75. Total additions to the stabilization fund during the course of the fiscal year were $434,935, which was part of the free cash transfer, together with interest of $77,069.82, for a total balance of $14,517,854.57.
Okay, that is the City of Leominster's financial report. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we will move into items under finance, beginning with C-106. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President. C-106, relative to the appropriation of $75,000 to the Health Refuse Collection Disposal Expense Account, same to be transferred from the Excess and Deficiency Account. This was granted with an emergency preamble at the last meeting, and by charter requires a ratification vote. You may remember that we had a letter from the Health Director, Chris Knuth, indicating that this money was necessary because there was a shortfall in the budget as a result of more houses, more trash being picked up, more recycling, electronics dumpsters, et cetera. It would be my recommendation to grant C-106, and I'll check with my committee members.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr, you still all set?
Yes.
Okay, Councilor Marchand?
I concur, thank you.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to ratify C-106. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of ratifying C-106, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, I'm sorry, 8-1, C-106 has been ratified. Moving on to C-107, Mr. Chairman.
Do you need an order for that?
We already
We already have the
we
order?
already did the order.
Last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, we already did the order.
C-107?
Yep.
Relative to the appropriation of $29,265 to the insurance expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Again, this was passed with an emergency preamble at the last meeting and requires ratification. We had a rather lengthy explanation at the last meeting of how these were needed to reconcile the workers' compensation account as a result of some unexpected court awards to injured employees. And I'd ask, I'm in support of the C-107, and I'll poll my committee.
No, I support that.
Okay.
Through the
Councilor
chair, I
Marchand.
concur.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Finance Committee to ratify C-107. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of ratifying C-107, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-107 has been ratified. C-108.
C-108, relative to the appropriation of $10,000 to the municipal building expense account, same to be transferred from the excess and deficiency account. Again, granted with an emergency preamble at the last meeting, requires ratification. This was as a result of shortfall in the municipal building expense account as a result of a number of different properties that come under that account that are required to be maintained throughout the city. It would be my position to ratify C-108, and I'll check with my committee.
No, I'm not going to support it.
Councilor Marchand?
Through the chair, I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Finance Committee to ratify C-108. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of ratifying C-108, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 7-2, C-108 has been ratified. Moving on to C-109.
C-109, relative to the appropriation of $35,000 to the police department overtime account, same to be transferred from the police department salary and wages account. Again, granted with an emergency preamble at the last meeting. This is an interdepartmental transfer, as we know, throughout the course of the year. They're shorthanded over there, and they had more money in the salary and wages account as a result of being down a number of officers, and therefore have expended overtime. So it would be my position to ratify C-109. I'll check with my committee members.
Yes, I am going to support this because I did see on the most recent retirement meeting minutes that the police department is hiring new full-time people. They're replacing the police officers, so we should see less overtime. So I understand that it's a problem because of absences. So I'll support this once, but that's why.
Councilor Marchand?
Through the chair, I concur with the recommendation.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of the Finance Committee to ratify C-109. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of ratifying C-109, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-109 has been ratified. C-110.
C-110, relative to the appropriation of $1,085,399 to the street resurfacing expense account, same to be transferred from the highway, state, and receipts reserved for appropriation account. I heard from the comptroller today This is dependent upon the passage of the state budget. Given the fact that the legislature just voted the budget and it's on the governor's desk, we're not in a position to act on this evening, and it would be my recommendation, therefore, to give this communication further time, and I'll check with my committee members.
I support that.
Okay, Council
Through the
Martian.
chair, I concur.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to give C-110 further time. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of giving C-110 further time, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 9-0, C-110 has been given further time. Moving on to,
Although, Mr. President, there are a few streets in Ward 5, so if they want to start now,
Yeah.
we'll be okay with that.
I have more than a few in Ward 3. Moving on to old business. We have a second reading of an ordinance, and I will refer this to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Second reading of an ordinance, amend Chapter 13 of the revised ordinances entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic by amending Section 13-77 entitled Stop Signs by inserting the Montrose Street against southbound drivers at Grant Street. This was Legal Affairs Petition 77-17. My recommendation is to adopt the second reading of the ordinance, and I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Okay, Council Frida?
I agree.
Council Marchian?
I concur.
Council Shalfo-Zephyr? Council Bedanza?
Agreed.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the second reading of this ordinance. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Council Frida.
Yay.
Council Dombrowski?
Yay.
Council Shalfo-Zephyr?
Yay.
Council Feckley?
Yay.
Council Bedanza?
Yay.
Council Lanciani? Council Cormier?
Yay.
Council Marchian?
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The second reading of this ordinance has been adopted. The next item on the agenda is we have a resolution regarding the Department of Revenue Financial Management Review. And is the chairwoman of Ways and Means ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Resolution regarding Department of Revenue Financial Management Review. Whereas the Leominster Public School System previously had a financial operation review done by Massachusetts Association of School Business Officials, hereafter known as MASBO report, which outlined many inefficiencies in the accounting systems between the school department and city's administration. Whereas many, if not all, of those inefficiencies outlined in the MASBO report have not been adequately addressed and continue to exist. Whereas many of the same inefficiencies outlined in the MASBO report between the city's administration and the school department also exists in other city departments. Footnote 1. As one example, inefficiencies in payroll processing, which often require duplication of data entry and lacks benefits of efficiencies found with the use of more modern information technology. Whereas the Leominster Public Schools are currently experiencing significant difficulties, including but not limited to an approximately $5.6 million shortfall, with resulting cuts in spending, cuts in education funding, and layoffs of school personnel. Whereas public hearings before the City Council have disclosed serious and prevalent communication breakdowns between the City Comptroller's Office and the school administration. Whereas the City Council is committed to increasing efficiency in city government and therefore reducing waste. Whereas the Department of Revenue offers financial management reviews aimed at increasing efficiency in government at no cost to the city, as per the DOR Division of Local Services website, which states, the Division of Local Services helps Massachusetts cities and towns achieve sound and efficient fiscal management through technical assistance, training, and oversight. Its bureaus are responsible for ensuring the fairness and equity of local property taxation, the accuracy and quality of local accounting and treasury management, interpreting state laws that affect local governance, distributing local aid, and maintaining a comprehensive data bank on local finances. DLS meets these responsibilities through community advising, seminars, publishing, internet services, research, software development and support, and community-specific management reviews and audits. There, be it resolved that the City Council of Leominster requests that the Mayor of the City of Leominster request a financial management review with the Massachusetts Department of Revenue to address these issues and offer insight and recommendations to remedy same. Respectfully submitted, John M. Dombrowski, City Councilor at Large, 41 Washington Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. Susan Shalafo Zephyr, City Councilor at Large, 437 West Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. Mr. President, in view of recent events, my recommendation would be that we adopt this resolution.
Okay, all right. And we'll check with members of your committee. Councilor Marchand.
Through the chair, I concur.
Okay, Councilor Lanciani.
I concur.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion? Councilor Bedanza.
Yeah, I had a chance over the last number of days to look at the DLS website and review a number of these financial reviews, and they're very diverse. They range as from communities as different as Athol and Milton. It was interesting to see the different things that they found community to community, and they're all very, very different, the reports. I have no difficulty with this, and I think that we can always learn something, and there's always ways to improve. You know, I'm sure like other communities, there are a number of things that we do right, and there are things that we can improve on. So I would encourage this. I think it's a useful tool, and I would be supporting it.
Okay. So at this time, Councilor Dabrowski, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I just think it's important to note that we drafted a very similar resolution, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago. I think I drafted it, but I'm not really sure. But I think it's important to note that the council at that time unanimously approved it. And I think the administration really should take heed of a lot of the discussion that's gone on down here. And it's not an exercise in finding the missing penny or whether your books balance or they don't balance. It's really a useful tool that I think is sorely needed. So I would really hope that we have a unanimous recommendation.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Frida.
I'm pretty familiar with the financial management review in the Division of Local Services. We deal with them once a month, and for the past 20 years. I'm not sure this is going to give everybody what they want to hear. It's certainly a tool that can be used. We all know that the mayor is the one that's got to order it. Nobody else can. So whether it's done or not is going to be dependent on that piece. But I did speak to the Division of Local Services today. I think one of the issues I have is that we don't know what the problem is. And I don't see anybody trying to fix the problem. 2 weeks ago here, we voted on a budget. 2 nights after that, there was a school committee meeting. I'm really not sure I understand why there aren't meetings almost 24/7 to fix the problem or to find out where the problem is. There are tools, not necessarily directly with Division of Local Services, but there are some, if the problem lies within the school department, there are tools specifically for that, similar to an audit, that can be used. But somebody's got to find the problem. Sitting at that school committee meeting was really painful, I got to tell you. And to hear $1.3 million and to listen, and I don't want to throw her under the bus, but to listen to a school committee member say, we got to act quickly on this because 4 football players have moved to Fitchburg already. Where are our priorities in this city? And we're going to worry about, let's make sure, and nobody, before the social media and sites start on criticizing me for not being supportive of sports, my son ran track and he was the captain of the soccer team. So, but my daughter was in music for a number of years. So I come from both sides of the arts and the programs. But we're talking about AP courses, we're talking about football. And at the same time, I'm watching 27 custodians who are gonna lose their job, and teachers who can't figure out when they're gonna come in or not come in, and principals who can't figure out what they're gonna do with their schools. And now the meeting that we're supposed to have tonight is pushed off to the 17th. How long is it gonna take to figure this out? I mean, we've got a serious problem in the city. We all know it. We're sitting here, we can't do anything about it. But even that 1.3 million, I'm not gonna support that unless I know exactly where that money's going. I mean, we need to fix some things here, and we need to fix them fast. And we can't do it, but we can certainly, we need to start making some noise down here. And the school committee needs to start making some noise and hold people accountable to what's going on and find out what the issues are. I'm gonna support this because I think it is a tool that can be used. I don't think, though, it's gonna give us what we wanna hear. I think it's more general. I don't think they really give the recommendations, and I really don't think it's gonna be asked for. So, but I'm gonna support it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion regarding this resolution? Councilor Bedanza.
I agree with some of the things that the Counselor at Large mentioned. You know, somebody mentioned, I think, one of the speakers at the public forum, that there was a record spent to, or report of $8,480,395 left over in the budget. I'm scratching my head looking at one of the line items, school expenses, $2,122,204 left over. Well, what is that all about? You know, that just, to me, that is the most puzzling thing I could ever imagine. Is it, if it's a paper transaction or something hasn't caught up yet in the system, but, you know, that's, you take that out of the equation and we're back to some of those other numbers that were more consistent with the prior years. Well, why is that money left in the budget? So I tend to make a call and see if I can figure that out tomorrow. But, I mean, maybe, you know, I think the Council at Large is right. There's got to be some kind of accountability here as to how we got into this mess. I'm not sure that this review is ultimately going to be the answer to it, but by golly, somebody's got to figure out what's going on here.
Okay. Councilor Shalva-Zephyr?
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, it may not be the final, you know, report, and I'm not sure that, I don't have a preconceived idea as to what I want it to find, but what I think it will be useful in doing is at least exposing if there are areas that can be improved. You know, if there are efficiencies that can be made, if there are savings that can be made, if there are duplication of efforts between the city and the school department that we can make more efficient and save some money. So I think it's a great first step. City of Fitchburg has had a review done. City of Gardner's had, I think, at least 2. And I think, if my memory serves me correctly, they've had 3 different reviews of various parts of their operation. So I think it's a really good thing. I think it's high time. And Councilor to my left, Dombrowski, you're absolutely right. It was 2010, I think, when it was a unanimous vote down here by the City Council. So again, you know, it may not be the final, you know, final report that anybody's looking for, but it certainly is the first step, I think, and a very important one in the right direction. So I really want to see it done.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Frida.
I guess my concern is there was so much going on, there's so much bad information everywhere, that if people are gonna think, and I'm not minimizing what this could do, but I don't think people should think that this is gonna give all the answers to the issue. And we heard, as Councilor from Ward 4 mentioned, people at the podium don't even have the full grasp of the numbers that they're putting out. I mean, money that has to go back into the system with free cash. There's a whole mechanism in place. So it's not like this is money that can be used. I mean, we all know down here how we have to do it. So there's just such bad information that people don't really have the whole picture. And until everybody, if I could predict what we could do, I would love for us to all sit around a table, have the school committee sitting here, have the superintendent, I said this a month ago, have the superintendent, have the mayor, have John Richard, have Glenn Fratto, everybody sit together and figure out what's going on. And let us ask questions of them, let them ask questions of us, and figure it out. We owe somebody something here, and we can't do it. We're strapped. But we need to keep saying it.
Okay. Councilor Shuffle-Zephyr?
Right, no, I think we do have to keep saying it. I think we have to keep, pointing out what the problems are and what the consequences are of these, real budgets that some people have passed. But, one of the problems is it isn't, it could be that the information out there is bad, but, a lot of it, there's just no transparency. You've got the Department of Revenue, you've got Department of Education, you've got the city comptroller saying one thing, you've got the school department saying another thing. Well, somebody's got to come in, a disinterested third party, take a look at things and say, okay, let's get to a common set of numbers that people agree have integrity. And I don't think that's going to be done without a disinterest, without, somebody coming in that doesn't have a particular point of view or a particular horse in any race. So that's what I'm looking at the Department of Revenue to come in and look at with dispassion and just a nice clear eye to look at things and say, okay, here's where some of the inconsistencies are. And here's where, things look like they match up. And let's, for once, we hear people say, oh, the Department of Education's numbers aren't any good. What are you talking about, the Department of Education's numbers aren't any good? If that's the case, we've got a real problem. The comptroller's numbers don't match the school department's. Okay, well, why? And that's what I'm hoping, that some of these communication problems that have been referenced in other reports, maybe we can get to the bottom of some of those. So, it's one step forward. It may only be a baby step, but it's a really good first step, I think. And just to go back to the financial report, $8.4 million left over at the end of the year. That's a lot of money. $2 million in the school department, yeah, that's a lot of money. But there's $6 million on the city side that hasn't been spent. So again, I don't know what the explanation is. I think it's the good question is to get to the bottom of it. Why is it not been spent? I also want to know why the $6 million on the city side hasn't been spent either, and where that's all going.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions regarding this resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting?
Roll call.
We'll do a roll call. Okay. All right. So we will do a roll call for the recommendation of the passage of this resolution, beginning with Councilor Frida.
Yeah.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo-Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Lanciani. Councilor, was that a yay or a nay? Yay. Yay, sorry. Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Marchian.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The resolution for the DOR has been passed. Is there any other old business to come before the city council? Seeing none, is there any other?
Oh, good, keep going.
Is there any other new business to come before the city council? Seeing none. Anything to come into the community calendar?
Under a lighter note,
Okay.
as you know, the Johnny Appleseed Festival, the 24th annual, is on the 23rd of September, right around the corner. And we're literally down to 18 spaces for vendors, so if any vendor would like to, you're all set. Ginny's is all set. Would like to apply. There's plenty of room for the school, high school. We have a lot of the groups already attending. But if you'd like an application, the easiest way is go right through the mayor's office at 978-534-7500 or stop by City Hall. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else to come under the community calendar? Seeing none, at this time I'll ask for a motion to adjourn and a second. Second, Councilor Cormier, and all those in favor of adjourning, please signify in usual manner. Those opposed by a vote of 9-0. The City Council meeting for July 10th, 2017 is now adjourned. Thank you all very much.